Welcome to the Business Finance Podcast, brought to you by the Best Finance Group, bringing you expert insights, real-life case studies, interviews, and the latest industry news. Join us every week as we cover everything you need to know about business finance.
Hello and welcome to the Business Finance Podcast. Today I'm here with Jon Fry, who's from Elite Financial Consulting, a firm of IFAs based in Bristol. So Jon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Phil.
How are you doing?
Very good. Yeah, very nice studio as well. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Setup.
It's our first time here, so
Brilliant.
yeah, it's a really nice place, and we wanted to get more guests like yourself in.
Sure.
As you know, our audience, our viewers and our listeners are business owners.
Yeah.
So we thought it'd be good to understand from an IFA's point of view how you help business owners and why they should be speaking to an IFA, really. So we'll start off with, if you could just tell us a little bit about Elite Financial Consulting and, about the team and how you got into the industry, just a quick overview for us, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of Elite Financial Consulting, so we're an independent financial advisor firm based in Bristol. We've got a good amount of mortgage advisors working for us. We've also got financial advisors. We've got two administrators as well. We cater for people of all walks of life. I think our youngest is about 8 years old, right up to about 93. So we see absolutely everyone. Help people with pensions, investments, protection, mortgages, and also business owners in terms of protection as well, protecting their business. Got in the industry quite a few years back. College, did catering for a bit, wasn't for me, and then an actual vacancy come up on a business studies course, which I was quite reluctant to do at the time. I wanted to do something more hands-on, but actually really enjoyed it. And from there, went to work for the bank, worked for insurance companies and estate agency, building societies. And eventually an IFA firm. So I was actually working for Elite as a mortgage advisor at the time.
Right.
Thoroughly enjoyed it and finished off the rest of my qualifications to become an independent financial advisor. So that was just gone 6 years ago now. So the firm I've joined has already been in place for 15 years.
Right.
So already established firm. We've got a good reputation locally. And also won numerous awards over the years as well. So, help all walks of life with our firm. So
fantastic. Yeah. So when it comes to, let's talk about business owners. Why should a business owner start thinking about, or when should they start thinking about getting some independent financial advice?
Yeah, of course.
What type of things do you do for business owners?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with, the best way of looking at it is just individuals themselves. So an individual could own a business, which could be a limited company, it could be a partnership, or they could be a sole trader. So sometimes financial advice is one of these things that you sort of put to the back of your mind and think, I'll get around to doing that at some point. But I think in terms of getting a good accountant in place, first of all, definitely helps. Your finance side of things. So in terms of getting your business account up and running as well. And just effectively putting your ducks in a row in the sense of getting your business organised in the sense you know where everything is, you know who your key contacts are as well, and all that could be solicitors, it could be an IFA firm as well. But in terms of if we go back on the individual basis, most of the time they'll have a mortgage, or they could be renting, there could be debts to pay, they could have pension provision already built up. They may not even start a pension provision. And this is what we're finding with a lot of self-employed people is you get to your sort of 40s and you think, do you know what, I've not actually done a pension. I wish I did that. And that cost of delay builds up. And then also you've got less and less time to invest that money, or you need to put more in order to get the equivalent outcome you need at retirement. So what we want to do is help business owners and individuals to get that preparation in place as early as possible. But also if they've got previous pensions that they've maybe worked in other companies over the years, is get all the information together. We'll review those, look at your charges, look at what funds you're invested in, look at the options at retirement. And some of these could have, they're called safeguarded benefits. So they could be specialist features within that pension, which means that we need to obviously do a full analysis anyway, as we do of all of ours. But those types of clients or those types of pensions, sometimes we need a bit more work for those ones. But in terms of just the general sort of snapshot as such, that's what we like to do. So once we get the client in, we do a snapshot, their situation where it is on a personal level, and then where they are on the business side of things. And that way it just helps us understand the client and then what they want to achieve long term, really.
Yeah, because something me and Jack often talk about when, business owners think that their business is their pension and, they're going to sell it, after the 20, 30 years, they're going to sell it and that's going to sort them out for retirement.
Yeah.
But it very rarely goes that way because things change.
Of course.
So yeah, it's interesting that, you would advise to start look at your pension early, get all your pensions in one place and be on top of it really.
Yeah.
Because then again, with business owners, there's different things you can have. Good times and bad times,
Absolutely.
so you need protections where, you could have a really bad spell at the business and you can't meet your payments.
Yeah.
So I suppose is that sort of the thing you help with those sort of protections
Yeah,
as well?
I mean, we certainly on the protection side of things for the business. So anything can happen. I've got clients that even in their 30s have passed away and they've been business owners. That then debt or burden will then pass on to the family, and it's a big area. So there are ways you can protect your business. So it could be, for example, if you're a sole trader, you could take out a form of life insurance, which is a form of key person for the individual. Could also be if it's a shareholder, you could do a shareholder protection to cover each other's shares. So if one of you dies, get a critical illness, the money's then paid out to the remaining family, so the shares effectively remain in the business. So there's also income protection as well. So if you go off sick or through injury, there's ways we can protect that income coming in the business. If you're relying on a business, if unfortunately you do come into ill health and effective that business, especially if you're a sole trader, that business will cease. So that's everything.
That's your income gone.
It's everything. So then you've got to then get a buyer and what have you, and it's very difficult to do. So in terms of looking at ways of protecting the business, yeah, of course, mention about the pensions, that's one as an area of investment separate. But ultimately, yes, of course, you've got your business which you could sell when you hit retirement, whatever that could be, if you hit retirement, because a lot of people either carry on working that are self-employed or partially retire. But having that protection in force is something that we always look at in terms of what protection they got on a personal level, or whether we need to do something from a business level. And that could be something as simple as even group death in service, which is called a relevant life plan. So we do quite a few of those as well, mainly for limited company directors, for those type of plans. So there's options available, but it's just speaking to the right people. And initially, speak to an IFA or speak to a mortgage broker, and often they can set those up. But
that's really interesting. And I think that's why we wanted to get people like yourself on. Because it's a different angle. If you're a business owner, so you think you've got this 30 years to build this business and sell it at the end and sail off into the sunset. But life
in reality
will throw so many things at you along that journey. You may not even get that far, whether it's through health or just generally the business folds. Yeah. Because a lot of the time it happens because it's not your fault. So I think it's really, really important that we have this conversation. Yeah. And that people do look at, okay, well, if the worst happens and if I do become ill, what's going to happen to my business? And especially if your family is just relying on that one income. Absolutely. So I think it's really, really, really key that people should seek financial advice. And you were saying earlier that people can come and have a consultation. It doesn't cost anything to have that chat and to find out where the gaps are and to spot the red flags. So is that something you would recommend them do, just to have initial?
A lot of our work, but we mentioned on the website anyway, initial consultation at our cost. But in terms of most of the conversations I have are people where I go and see and have a chat to them, and this could be individuals or business owners, and it will be just to effectively understand their position, understand their situation, and what do they need. That's the important thing. That's the essential part, and then we can then build on what we need to do in terms of our services from there. But always happy to go out and see anyone, have an initial chat either way. Yeah.
So another thing, sometimes it can be a bit of a struggle if you're self-employed or if you have a limited company. What about getting a mortgage? Is that something you deal with a lot with people, especially with the self-employed or sole traders? Is it still tricky for them to get a mortgage?
No, not necessarily. The main thing is getting all the paperwork ready, which is the important one.
It's always the worst thing, trying to get paperwork.
Exactly. You probably get people that are self-employed, go to the pub or cafe, chat to their friend, and they say, well, you're self-employed, you're never going to get a mortgage. The way to get a mortgage is in terms of, I think, credit file is important to make sure your credit file's up to date and how good your credit is, and we can assess that and we can see if we need to make any improvements in that area, because that's important to get that ready. Either have an accountant, or if you do your own accounts, or a bookkeeper, make sure your accounts are up to date, your taxes are paid, because that's critical. Business bank statements, usually lenders ask for the average of the last 3 months business bank statements to check sort of income outgoings, and obviously if there's any changes that have happened recently, proof of ID, proof of address. So very similar to an individual who's not self-employed, which could just be proof of ID, proof of address, pay slips, bank statements. So self-employed is just in terms of the paperwork side of things. As I said, if you've got an accountant, they'll be able to organise that for you. If you do it yourself, there are documents you can get which breaks down your tax summary, and that's what lenders will ask for. But obviously they're looking at that, the type of income the person does, self-employed, and also then how likely they do that up till, say, retirement, or it could be up to, say, age 75 or maybe longer. So you've got to look at how feasible that job is, and in terms of are they likely to do that job long-term as well. So it's the plausibility, sustainability. Those are the sorts of things we look at with our clients and we talk through, because ultimately the lender's the one that's going to be agreeing the money.
Yep.
But ourselves as the financial advisor are the ones that are going to be assessing the situation and say, yeah, I think this will work. This looks affordable. We've checked your budget. Everything looks good. So those are the sort of things we go through with the client. So self-employed is sometimes a sticking point where people say, I'm self-employed, now going to get a mortgage. We also get the same when people are sort of in their sort of late 50s, 60s, say, I'm never going to get a mortgage. We can do that as well. But it's just making sure the paperwork, everything is there. Yeah. And that's from our initial conversation. We'll tell clients what we need at outset as well.
Okay, so John, if you could give small business owners, self-employed, 3 financial tips for building long-term wealth, what would they be?
Yeah, fine. Being a business owner myself, and I'm sure there's many that are watching this podcast, that if you are a business owner, I think cash flow is probably the most important thing for any business. We've seen the national insurance hikes from April this year, so more and more businesses are obviously looking at costs in terms of running the business. There's times when even our cash flow as a business has run quite low, but obviously then we built that back up as well. We've cut costs. We've gone through quite a process of looking at all the outcomes, exactly the same as if you would do as an individual. If you're sat there on a Saturday afternoon looking at all your Sky and all your outgoings and everything, thinking, do you know what, we can cut back on? Exactly the same on the business side of things. That cash flow is critical. So if there's going to be any future changes, particularly it could be from the budget coming up in November, business owners need to realise what actually they need to have as a fixed monetary amount coming into the business each month to cover those fixed costs. And there's other discretionary costs which could be cancelled or changed. So cash flow is always good. I'd also look at any sort of business savings accounts as well. Often if you've got either a digital bank or one of these high street banks, there'll often be like a notice account or some sort of easy access. So if they could put money away as well, you can get some interest on that. So obviously building a bit of wealth from your cash flow within the business. Speak to the accountant, obviously, in terms of extracting it and the best ways of doing that. So I think the cash flow is obviously good. I think look after your staff. I think it's really good. I think if you've got a good team behind you, look after them. Ultimately, it does kind of build towards the wealth long term because it builds that business and it keeps the business going, the longevity of it. So look after your staff. Most of my staff are self-employed anyway, and obviously I've got a couple of employed staff, but I treat them all the same. We're all like a big family. We do bicker from time to time, but you know that's the way it goes. You know, we sort out our differences. But you know, it's one of these things where people watching this might think, well, there's another business owner, everything's perfect for them. It's not. You know, we've been through some tough times. We've gone through lockdown. We've had struggles. We've got through it. Yeah. We've got a good team behind us now as well, and that really helps. So that's important. And the third one, I think, in terms of with your clients, is really just keep your promises. So if you're going to promise a client something, make sure you do it. Make sure you follow through with that. But also treat the client well, because the client ultimately is going to be there with you through that journey long term as well. There are businesses out there which are quite transactional in terms of what they do, in terms of doing the physical job, moving on to the next client, and then just trying to get new business. If you build that existing database of existing clients you've got, not necessarily to market those clients, but just in terms of you've got those contacts there as well. And also then those people can then refer people to you as well. And you could always build in some form of referral system as well for those clients that are referred from existing customers that you've already seen.
Personally, after you've got your own money from the business, you need an IFA to maybe talk to you about your pensions or savings or ISAs and all those sorts of things.
That's right. Yeah.
So make sure the business foundations are strong and make sure you're wise with the money that comes off and protect yourself. Absolutely. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah. Okay, John, thanks very much. So I just want to finish then. Perhaps you could give us an example of when you've collaborated with us to achieve a better financial outcome for our mutual client.
Yeah,
Any examples?
That's fine. Well, there's effectively two examples. One of which is I've actually worked with Pinnacle for quite a few years now anyway, and just after lockdown, we actually needed some finance for our own business. The process was so smooth. Jack did very similar to what I do with my own clients in terms of going through a full fact find process, understanding what I need, and what sort of timescale I needed in terms of investment or in terms of borrowing. So that was ideal. Jack was brilliant the whole time. So kept me informed, emailed updates, everything, told me exactly what paperwork I need, which I promptly supplied. And the process was just smooth. It was slick. It was fantastic. So that's from a sort of business level. From a client perspective, we had one where we had quite a tricky property, quite a complex income for the client. I needed quite a quick bridging loan, and phoned up Jack, explained the situation, what we needed. Jack had no hesitation at all in taking on the client and speaking to them. Regular meetings with the client, arranged the bridging finance, got the house completed. And that was quite a quick process as well. Within that, Jack kept me informed during the whole process as well, similar to my own experience dealing with him, but also my client as well. So great outcome for us, great outcome for the client. So overall, really
fantastic.
pleased.
That's brilliant. Well, John, thank you very much. Where can our listeners and viewers find you if they want to arrange a free consultation?
On our website, Elite Financial Consulting, or you can just phone the office, and we're on Facebook as well, and happy to help. No problem.
Thanks for joining us.
Phil.
Well, that was really interesting, and I'm glad we got John in. It's good to speak to an IFA because, as a business owner, there are all these unknowns, and protecting yourself against these unknowns is so important. It's something that probably all put to the back of our mind and don't do. But what did you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like you just said, then it is the unknown. Making sure you're protected, but more importantly as well is if business is going really well and you've built up a nice nest egg. What can you do with the money? How can you make it start working interest? Like John said, a couple of tips there. Put into a high interest savings account. Speak to John, and I'm sure he has a wealth of options. Pensions as well. What a brilliant way of building wealth.
Yeah.
But making sure, like you said at the start, that we see it so many times, don't we? Business owners, I'm going to sell the business. That'll be my retirement. Yeah. But it very rarely can work out that way. So there's no better thing than building that wealth and being able to, if something does happen, making sure that that's passed on to whoever you want it to be passed on to. So
I think it's just so important, isn't it, just to protect that. So you're building this business. This is how you're earning your money. This is how your family's relying on you.
Yeah.
It's very important to get some protections in place, isn't it? It just made me think.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, really...
Yeah, how many business owners? There's probably loads out there watching this right now. If you're not protected, speak to John, speak to Elite, and make sure you get that protection in place. Yeah,
I thought that was a really valuable episode. So thanks again to John for coming on.
Yeah,
and thank you for all joining us. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for watching. If you need any help with business finance, please get in touch via our website, thebestgroup.co.uk.